YouTube now. So make sure to tune into those streams here, and if you want to interact with the trivia episode for today. And also coming up right after that will be discussion between me, meteorologist Evan Thomason, and as well as meteorologist Jake Lambert to talk about this weekend system coming up here. But featured on today's episode for weather trivia is meteorologist Jake Lambert here. Thank you so much for tuning in and coming on to this episode for today. How are we feeling about today's episode? How are we feeling about the trivia questions?
Feeling pretty good about it. I am worried about one or two questions, but I don't know what they are yet, to be honest with you. CJ just said watch out on one. We'll see how good I do on the trivia.
I believe you're going to do really well. Word on the street is the trivia questions are pretty rigorous, so not to scare you a little bit, but I feel like you'll do pretty good. You already have a basis of all the science in your head already. You've gone through the schooling and everything. I think you'll be just fine. So let's get moving on with this episode. The first question of this today's trivia episode is, what is the lowest temperature recorded so far this month in Shreveport? So far, what is the lowest temperature that was recorded here? Now, we've had a couple of low temperatures reach, into the 20s and into the teens out there, but we're talking about Shreveport and Bossier City for today here. So I'm going to move myself off of the screen, move me and Jake off the screen so that you can see the answer choices here. So the lowest temperatures and the answer choices here are between 24, 25 degrees, 20 degrees, or is it 21 degrees? What is the lowest temperature that has been recorded here for Shreveport Bossier?
Probably going to get this one wrong. I know it's ballpark. I'm going to go with 25 degrees.
Okay. That is not a bad answer, guys. That is not a bad answer. I did tell him that the correct answer would be very close, or the correct two answers that are right and wrong that would be very close to each other. So let's dive into the answer to this question, and the answer is 24 degrees. And it's okay. This is the first question. It was just a warm up, okay? It was very close. I know that on the almanac, this was actually recorded on Monday night, I believe it was. Or was that right? That was when we saw that last big cool down here around the Arklatex. It was 24 degrees. So don't get too nervous just yet, man. We have 3 more questions for you here on the First Alert Weather Breakdown. You were very close. So let's dive into the next question here. We're also going to be looking at the Facebook chat to see if anybody has responded here. We had quite a few people respond to this here. So one person said 25, one person said 32, which was not one of the answer choices, but that's okay. We have 3 more questions left. 24 was one of the answer choices by somebody here as well. And somebody asks, could this be as bad as the ice storm of the year 2000? So we're going to be diving into those details in just a little bit. But here, as you see on the screen, this is the next question we have here for this trivia episode. Which of these clouds is technically not a cloud? Technically not a cloud here. So here are the answer choices that you have. We have Mammatus cloud, we have a lenticular cloud, we have Virga, and we have a noctilucent cloud, which is something I just looked up here not too long ago before the show. So, Jake, what are your thoughts here? We're thinking about Mammatus cloud or Mammatus, however you want to pronounce it there, lenticular, Virga, or noctilucent cloud.
Am I good to go and answer it?
Yes.
The correct answer would be Virga.
Yes, which one is not technically a cloud? You said Virga, and the correct answer is it will be Virga. So congratulations, everyone out there who had said Virga. I know one person had said Virga. So congratulations to you, and congratulations, Jake. You're 1 out of 2 so far. So how are we feeling so far? Getting halfway through the trivia questions for today, Jake.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. I love the attitude here. I love the attitude. We have 2 more questions left for you. We have 1 multiple choice, and we have 1 true-false question here. So this one, we're going to go back in time a little bit. Just a little bit, though. How many tornadoes were confirmed from Tropical Storm Beryl's outbreak in 24 of July, the month of July? So I know that you were not in the Arklatex when this happened, but you may know some of the stats here. So what do you think? What are you thinking here? Well, actually, if you know the stats in Alexandria, if it affected at all, did it produce any tornadoes out there or in your viewing area?
I think we had about 16 tornado warnings in our area, a couple confirmed tornadoes in the parishes that we share. Um, I'm crossing my fingers here that the answers are far apart because if they're not close, I could get it. I know like the ballpark, what we saw from Barrel.
Okay, cool. So let's look at the answer choices here. 35. We have 40. We have 42, and we have 43. So these are the answer choices: 35, 40, 42, or 43. What are we thinking here?
I'm gonna go with 42.
Okay, 42. I want to tell you about the confirmed tornado warnings that we've had. The total confirmed tornado warnings. I believe it was 67, which set a record for the most tornado warnings in a 24-hour period. So that is definitely a lot here. That is something that you don't see every single day, obviously, and every single year for that matter, and every decade. You probably won't see it every decade here, but yes. So your answer was 42 tornadoes. Are we locking that in?
Let's lock it in.
We're gonna lock it in here. So the answer is 43 tornadoes were confirmed, and it's 8. I saw your reaction, but it's okay, Jake. It's all good.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It was one of those things where, like, the last question, I thought they're so close. C's got to be the right answer.
Yeah.
But do y'all remember seeing that picture after Barrel where the National Weather Service here in Shreveport printed out all the warnings? They were just scattered all over the floor.
Yes.
That was breathtaking to see, and not the good kind of breathtaking.
Yes, it definitely was. And I still have a GIF on my phone that they had released out to us in the National Weather Service chat that showed the amount of tornado warnings in real time. It had shown all the tornado warnings as it had moved in from the south and west. And at first, it was just like a few here and there by the Houston area. Then it just exploded here for the Arklatex. And I believe we had around 11 or 12 warnings at the same time in the middle of the day, in the middle of that outbreak there. So, yeah. 43 confirmed tornadoes. It was a lot that day. It was definitely a hectic day to be in the Arklatex. So let's move on to the last question of today's trivia episode. Is this true or false? Now, I know I have a good feeling that Jake is going to get this question here. Is it true or false? Lightning always travels from cloud to ground. Is this true or false?
It is false.
It is false? Okay. All right, so let's see if anybody else in the comments here have said an answer here. So Jake says it's false, and people are still responding to the last question here. I believe Michael Douglas says no to this question here. So we have somebody on Jake's side here. That's good. That is all good here. All right, let's look at the answer to this question here. Obviously the choices are either true or false, and the answer to this question is false. Lightning does not always travel from cloud to ground. You can also see lightning travel from cloud to cloud, I believe I've seen even some rare incursions from ground to cloud as well, like coming back up. That's extremely rare, but yeah, that's all that we have for today's trivia episode. Jake was 2 out of 4 for today, but it was very hard. It was very hard in terms of the answer choices here. So thank you once again, Jake, for tuning into today's trivia episode. I hope to see you back on for another one. Maybe I'll give you guys some grace on, spreading out the answer choices a little bit, but I don't want to make it too easy for you guys. I know you're a meteorologist too. I'm going to do the same for Evan. If Matt joins us, I'm going to do the same for him too. So we're going to make it a little bit rigorous for us, but a little bit easier for those that may not know about the science. But once again, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. And we're going to be diving into the details of our winter system that is expected coming up on this weekend here. So make sure to tune in after this quick break. We're going to take around a 2-minute break, and meteorologist Evan Thomason will be joining us here on the KSLA First Alert Weather Breakdown. So make sure to stay tuned, and just around 2 minutes, we'll be right back. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. We have put you guys already on the screen. We have meteorologist Evan Thomason here and meteorologist Jake Lambright joining me here for that matter, to talk about this weekend system. And we've been looking at a lot of data throughout the past few days here. And first of all, what are your initial thoughts? Anybody can go first.
I guess I will. In general, this just it seems like I wouldn't say everything's exploded. That's not the right word, but it just seems like we're getting a plethora of moisture in here, and that combined with such a rare Arctic blast in here. I mean, we've talked about several days where temperatures have gone down into the 40s and 50s for highs, and that's been a chilly day in the Arctic and for winter. These highs for the weekend are brutal. And I don't think we've mentioned that enough. We're talking highs sustained in the lower 30s both Saturday and Sunday. And when you combine that with moisture, you just open up a plethora of chances to grab onto any chance of winter precipitation.
Yeah, that's definitely true. What are you thinking, Jake?
Absolutely. I mean, the setup is definitely there for some wintry precipitation, and it's still a little too early, of course, to get into specifics. Yeah. But on the meteorological side, I mean, this is something that we're going to have to watch closely. I know there's already questions out there, how much are we getting in my town? Does this rival other winter storms? It's just hard to say that for now, but it is definitely looking like a weekend where we're going to need to be prepared. Dig out those warm blankets, maybe grab a movie or two to watch, indoor activities, because it also looks like this will mainly be more of an ice thing. It doesn't look like we'll see as much snow, at least for much of the Arklatex. So it's not so much the fun stuff that we would love to see, which is snow across the Arklatex, but definitely some impacts that we could face over the weekend. And as you said, like the temperatures too, I remember talking just yesterday about lows as we go from, I believe it was Saturday night into Sunday morning. Yeah. And temperatures could be pretty chilly. I mean, even in Shreveport, low 20s at the warmest. I noticed north of I-30, some spots could fall into the lower teens. I mean, some pretty dangerous cold.
I've seen some single digits as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I've seen some single digits as well showing up on Monday morning. So just to add the emphasis on that. What about you, CJ?
Single digits comes very close to a record. I know that for sure. I've seen some records. I believe the lowest temperature that Shreveport's ever seen was -5. So that's not, I don't believe we're seeing maybe negative temperatures, but it gets very, very close. And any temperature that's below freezing, you're definitely going to need to take extra precautions like protecting the 4 Ps, pets, pipes, pants, plants. Wow, pants. You can protect those pants too. Make sure they don't freeze out there in the cold. But pets, plants, pipes, and people, for that matter, those are the 4 Ps that you should protect. And anything else that you may think of out there, definitely need to protect those things and make sure to stay inside during these well below freezing temperatures that are expected here. And I've seen on certain models that most of us could receive ice, just as Jake had mentioned there. Could provide some very bad impacts. And what I've talked about with them before we hopped on this episode was the frequency of these systems here. This same system, not the same system per se, but we've seen a very similar setup around this time of year in this very same exact month through the past couple of years before. I know this same thing happened in 2025, and we've had some road shut down for quite some time. I believe around a week in 2024 here. That was before both of you guys were here in the Arklatex, or before you guys came to KSLA, but I for sure remember that, and I remember it vividly. Remember forecasting for it leading up to the event, and I remember it just crashing throughout the Arklatex and just causing a lot of havoc and turning out a lot of power in a lot of homes here. So it's definitely something to watch out for throughout this week, and we'll definitely be keeping you first aware and first alert to it.
I think another thing I want to mention as well is, again, something to go along with those temperatures. If any of the ice falls, in order for that ice to melt, temperatures need to be above freezing.
Yes.
So once it falls, starting as early as Friday night, and it could continue throughout the day on Saturday and even into Sunday. That's just another pinpoint. Is it happening for a long period of time? This is not just a quick rush and then, hey, boom, we're done. This is likely to carry on for over 24 hours, I think, with accumulation of ice potentially. You need temperatures above that freezing mark in order to melt the ice.
Right.
And quite frankly, we aren't seeing temperatures that are above freezing, period, at least at a substantial level, until Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
which means the ice is just stuck to the roadways for all of Saturday and all of Sunday. And I brought this up on the morning show, and this is the last point I'll leave at. Have you ever imagine a car being out in an ice skating rink? It's never a good time. It doesn't sound like a good idea. That's the point. It's not a good idea. That's why you don't want to be out there, unfortunately, here for this weekend. You got to watch out for those plans. I know last thing I want to get to that is we have the crew of Centaur Ball
Yes.
actually coming up this weekend here on Saturday night in the Shreveport Convention Center. They're going to work out. We at KSLA are actually working to find out what's going to happen actually with that.
Yes. Yes, we're definitely planning on having everybody staffed up here in the studio just to keep you guys first aware to the latest updates, because it may be a slip and slide out there on those roads, and you definitely won't be wanting to drive on those roads, especially with how the models are looking at. And one question I want to ask you guys, if you have, or you guys may have already been seeing the model runs that have been coming in, what are your thoughts? If you had to give a forecast right now, where do you think the snow will land? And where do you think the freezing rain and sleet will land here around the Arklatex? Or where do you think that line will be, that middle ground?
So if I had to make a forecast right now, I'd say our best chances for snow would be across McCurtain County in Oklahoma, and maybe some of our southwest Arkansas counties. I think we have the chance maybe on the very back end of this for even the Shreveport-Bossier area to see a couple of flakes, but really that's going to be the minority of what we see over the next couple of days. Of course, it's a little too early to get into specifics, but there is enough data pointing to an amount of ice where power outages are looking possible, if not likely, for some of the area. So like I was mentioning earlier, pulling out those blankets and warm things, your candles just in case. Hopefully we don't lose power or anything of that nature. Never want that. But again, being prepared, of course, is going to be key for this. And also, it might be the obvious, but I do want to remind everybody, I know if there are power outages, many in the Arklatex have generators, and they're great. They keep the lights on, they keep a heater going, but just remember safety when it comes to using indoor space heaters and also generators. You don't want to leave that generator inside with you and trap those dangerous gases. You want to leave it a couple feet away from your home to prevent fires and, again, to kind of prevent you from inhaling those dangerous gases as well. So overall, just kind of recap, I think for much of the Arklatex, the ice is going to be the biggest issue, maybe some snow again, southeast Oklahoma, southwestern Arkansas, and maybe a few flurries kind of come in toward the end of the winter weather event for us closer to I-20.
That's very, very useful knowledge there, Jake. Thank you for that, especially with the space heaters and everything that you had mentioned in terms of precautions here. Evan, what do you think? What do you think about where the snow may land and where the freezing rain may land?
I agree with Jake most of that. Pretty much all of it as well. Snow, as of right now, is looking a lot more likely in areas along and north of I-30, kind of putting the difference between where we get snow and where we get ice as of right now along the I-30 corridor. This is going to be a changing forecast. We also don't want to get into specific accumulation levels yet, because one of the most difficult parts about weather forecasting, period, is determining, okay, is it going to rain? Is there going to be freezing rain? Is there going to be snow? What type of precipitation? That's incredibly hard to determine, especially this far out. It's still 4 or 5 days away away from this happening for the Arklatex. So, as of right now, it just looks like snow on the northern edge. The ice bullseye is pretty much right on the central part of the Arklatex, though, especially the I-20 corridor. It could be wild. And as mentioned earlier, especially because this is falling almost repeatedly from Friday night through the overnight hours, through all of Saturday, maybe even into early Sunday morning, too. The fact that this is happening continuously over 24 hours, it just accumulates so much precipitation. What form of precipitation? As of right now, again, it looks like ice is in the central part, snow is in the northern part, but it could change at this point in time. All I know is we're getting a lot, and it's going to be an impactful system, it looks like, unfortunately, for this coming weekend.
Yeah, it definitely could change there, Evan. I feel like all of us meteorologists have sort of some like PTSD, sort of with like how the models can change. Because with the last system, we had the possibility of seeing snowfall on January 17th, which was this past Saturday, but that turned out. That turned out to be absolutely nothing, a complete dud here. And we already gave you the first alert to that by the middle to later part of the work week. That's why it's imperative and it's important to stay weather aware throughout this work week here, because things can change at an instant. Yes, it could definitely change at an instant. But since Sunday afternoon, I believe, I think Chief Meteorologist Matt Jones and I think Jake was on top of posting about it and posting about it first before everywhere else that we have seen on social media here about the potential for snowfall. But as you can see, it has been holding up since then. And it hasn't changed by much here. Maybe the freezing line has shifted just a tad bit northward or southward, but it hasn't been changing by much. What do you guys think?
I just wanted to add one quick point before Jake says anything. I think if you compare this to the last little snow run that we had projected from this past weekend, that was one or two models trying to show snow that we had for last weekend. That was not all the weather models, and look what ended up happening. We didn't have anything. We have I'm pretty sure all of our weather models confirming that we are getting some type of winter precipitation across the Arklatex. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're in consensus now. This is why we're in full agreement, and again, we have a lot more of a reassurance, essentially, into, again, winter precip happening this weekend.
Yes.
Yes, and I'll also mention, too, kind of tying back to that weather trivia, even those few models last week that were hinting at some flurries, whenever you see that on the map, you got to watch it closely. But whenever you look at things behind the scenes, those modeled soundings were showing a lot of dry air at the surface. Whether we were talking rain, flurries, ice, last week, we would have ended, if something tried to fall out of the sky, it would have ultimately ended up being Virga, tying back to the trivia.
Yes.
But can you ask that question one more time? I kind of forgot what you...
It was, which of the following is technically not a cloud? That was what the question was.
Not the trivia question, but a minute ago before Evan and I started talking.
Oh.
Just what were we talking about with the winter weather period? What are we expecting? What's the difference between this and the past?
The difference between it was pretty much the models were showing that there was moisture associated with the system that was rolling through, but with the models, by the time we reached Thursday and Friday, they showed little to no moisture in those clouds. So it turned out to be absolutely nothing, just a major cold front moving through.
Thank you for that. Like I said, I totally forgot. Slipped my mind. But as Evan was saying, I mean, everything is showing this. The moisture is very abundant. And I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I haven't been a meteorologist all that long. I've been in the business for 4 years, been out of college about 2. I have never seen a signal this strong and this consistent. And I mean, whenever we were looking at this over the weekend, didn't want to necessarily say that because it has 7 days. Could do a 180 and we could end up saying nothing. But at this point, as Evan was saying, it has held and that signal has been very strong. And with winter weather, you don't see that. Now, the specifics are changing. That's why we can't get into those yet. That's one part of model data and forecasting where we're just not to that level yet. But to see the signal and see the impacts remaining the same, I'm a person, we're all people here, and I'm going to be honest with y'all. I would rather it be 80 degrees and sunny next week. I'm not a fan of this winter weather, but it does look like we are locking in on a pretty impactful winter weather event as we head into the weekend.
I think it's worse that it actually has such a ice potential as well. My first station, I lived up in Idaho for 3 years. I'll let you in on this secret. I crashed my car accidentally once. Now, that was because of weather. What was I driving in? I was not driving in snow.
Ice.
It's
gotta be ice.
It's a killer. It's a killer, especially on the roadways. And ice even rarely happens. You have to have the right and perfect setup for ice to occur. And unfortunately, that's kind of unfolding. We have warm moisture aloft, and we have a brutal Arctic cold freeze at the surface, and that's essentially the right recipe to be able to form freezing rain, sleet, and ice, especially on those roadways. So again, please drive safely. I cannot stress that enough with this kind of a system.
Yes, we'll have to drive safely when the time comes, and we'll have to stay weather aware until that time comes. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode, and thank you, Jake and Evan, for coming on to the episode and talking to you guys, talking to the audience here about your knowledge of what we can expect for this weekend here. Make sure to tune into these two people that you see here on the screen. On I believe Evan's done for the day, but you'll see meteorologist Jake Glambright on KSLA News 12 at noon and 4. Chief Meteorologist Matt Jones, which is the only person on this weather team that's not a part of this. This is not on purpose, by the way. Matt, if you're watching, you will be joining us on the next one. We will try to get him on the next one here, but he definitely has a lot of thoughts that are in agreement with everyone that is on this podcast for today. He'll be on at KSLA News 12 at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. We'll be ending off the episode right here, but Jake Lambright will be hosting the First Alert Weather Breakdown podcast tomorrow for the very first time, so make sure to tune into that on at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow here on the same platforms outside of Facebook. Or yes, I believe we will be streaming on Facebook, right, guys?
Yep.
Still streaming on Facebook?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you will be we'll be streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and on the KSLA News 12 app. Make sure to tune in at 10:30 a.m. sharp here. So, and also make sure to have a great rest of your day. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope you all stay weather aware. We're gonna be ending off the episode right here. I'm meteorologist CJ Cartledge. You guys want to sign off?
I'm meteorologist Jake Lambright.
I'm meteorologist Evan Thomason.
And we'll see you guys on the next episode.